What is up, guys? Welcome to another video. I want to talk to you about the state of the fitness industry today. So we are February 2024. We are fresh in the game. It has been 4 years now, which is crazy since the shutdown. And basically, what I want to go over is what has changed in the fitness industry. Now, just so that you understand that I would be giving a relevant opinion on this, is started working out when I was 14. I'm 38. I won a natural bodybuilding show at 21. I played sports all growing up. I was personal trainer. I started working in the fat loss industry and boutique fitness industry for the last 10 years. I've owned my own gyms for the last 7 plus. We developed that into a national franchise, multiple locations, award winning, blah, 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 all the stuff, right? That being said, the biggest problem in the fitness industry right now is it's harder, right? And again, when we were in 2017, when I opened, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, realistically, you didn't really have to be that good to win. Mainly for two reasons. Is one, the market saturation wasn't really there, right? So if you opened, like when we opened our gym in Cape Coral, we were like the only people doing what we did, right? There was like maybe one Orange Theory in a town of like 180,000 people. So think about that. So we blew up, had over 800 something members, had 460 people day one at that location, just bananas, right? Marketing costs has obviously gone up. And then since the shutdowns, right, we've seen, I think it's like right now, I think the stat that I saw last was like 33% of gyms since 2020 have gone out of business, or gone bankrupt or closed, right? So literally 1 out of 3, okay? And the biggest things that I see is, there's so many people who look at the fitness industry and, they'll complain or they'll talk about how hard it is or talk about how everything's changed or, what we need to do to get back to the 2018, 2019. And I've got bad news for you, folks. It's not coming back, right? The ease of entry is not coming back. It's just not. On top of that, saturation is still up there, right? So while you may have seen, some gyms who couldn't hack it go out of business, most of the time those gyms were operating at very small margins to begin with. And then you compound shutdowns, labor costs, inflation, rent, utilities, everything else that's gone through the roof, right? Minimum wage, all the things. It makes sense that if you were barely making ends meet before, you're not going to make ends meet after, right? It's just like that's simple math, right? If the cost goes up 10% and your margins were 4%, you're losing 6%. Well, if your margins were 10%, you're probably not making that much money. And realistically, like you didn't have a lot saved, so you're going to go out of business, right? Like there's only so much time you have. So what I want to talk about is just what to do, how to pivot, and some things that we've done over the last 12 to 18 months, realistically, to really not just, I don't want to say turn things around, but going huge in the right direction again. And the main thing is adapting and pivoting, right? So we've added more services to what we do. We've had to increase our price. We've had to change our pricing structure. We've had to add things like really extensive CRMs, to adding different marketing, referral, and email campaigns, to really getting down into that guerrilla, in the dirt style marketing, right? Which is asking, for referrals, having door hangers, sending out mailers, literally, like incentivizing things, running way more ads than we used to at different trials and programs and things to try to get more people into the door to experience the difference of what we offer. And we've adapted. Now, a lot of you might say, well, yeah, that's business 101. But the problem was in 2017, 2018, 2019, you didn't have to do that, right? Like if you were good enough, you really didn't. You just had to show up and go to work, and people just came because it was the hot thing and there wasn't that many options. Well, now when you've got every Tom, Dick, and Harry with a new gym on the corner, and then there's another one that goes out of business, and then another one opens, and another one goes out of business, and another one opens, what happens is it spreads out that market base, and then only a fraction of them come back, right? So it's just how the game works. And so what we've noticed over the last few years is realistically, especially over the last 18 months, all the changes that we've made, is speed is the key to adjusting in this market, okay? And I can tell you firsthand from owning franchises and dealing with franchisees and trying to help them get it, is if I say, hey, this is what we did this month, this is what we did this month, this is what we did this month, and then the person doesn't do it, and then they come back the next month and they're struggling. It's like, well, did you do what I said that month? Well, no. Okay, do it now, because now you're not only a month behind what I was going to tell you the next time, but now you still have to go back to level one. And once you do level one, you can do level two, right? And these are things, guys, that in today's environment, you have to be. You have to be faster. You have to adapt. You have to measure the success. And then you have to figure out what worked, what didn't, do more of what did, and do less of what didn't, right? And while we think that that's simple and that should make common sense to people, you would be amazed how many people take so much time to adapt, so much time to change, so much time to implement different things, when in reality, like, they're already dead in the water, they just don't know it, right? And if you've seen every other gym and you've seen the reports, like you've seen the F45 stocks, you've seen the Orange Theory reports, you've seen, how many Fit Body boot camps, like 60% of them now or something like crazy, crazy numbers. Every franchise company, every mom and pop got smashed upwards of 50, 60, 70. In the case of F45, their stock went down so far they had to be delisted off the stock exchange, right? Like, just bludgeoned because of COVID. Right? And I know that's a hot word. It's probably going to get me whatever on here. But like, at the end of the day, that's what happened. And you have two choices, folks. You have two choices if you're a gym owner. You can accept that, roll over and die, and be part of the people who closed. That's an option that you have. You can go do that. You can cut your losses and do something else. Or you can adapt and you can implement speed and you can get back into the grind and you can get back into the grit and you can fight and claw and you can do the things that it takes to win, right? But the things that it's going to take to win, here's the craziest thing, right? And I've talked to owners and franchisees and everything. How much more work do we have to do in 2023 and 2024 than we did in 2018 and 2019? I mean, in our gyms, we probably do 3 to 5 times more work than we were doing for less money. Now, you can say that's fair, you can say that's unfair, you can say it's the market, you can say it's the economy, you can say it's politics, you can say whatever you want as the reason why. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. There's a certain amount of work that it takes to win. If that amount of work goes up 10 times, it doesn't matter what you complain about, if you have time to do it, if it's someone else's responsibility, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If it's your business, you have two options. You can decide to do the amount of work that it takes to win, whether that amount of work is 10x higher than it used to be or not. It doesn't matter. The amount of work it takes is the amount of work it takes. You can decide to do that amount of work, or you can lose. Those are the two options. You can't blame the franchisor. You can't blame the politician. You can't blame the marketing company. You can't blame the trainers. You can't blame the clients. You can't blame AI. You can't blame anything at all that's relevant. What you have to do is look yourself in the face and say, hey, these are the facts. I've been putting in this amount of effort. This amount of effort has produced this result. Am I happy with that result? And if the answer is no, you have two options. You can do the amount of work that is necessary, or you can shut down and quit. Those are the only two options that you have. And I challenge you to sit down and truly decide that. It's a hard conversation to have. Me and my wife have had that conversation. She's my business partner. We have had this conversation pretty much every quarter. Is this amount of work worth going down 6%? Is this amount of work worth the amount of, like, I think last year we were down, I think like 11%, right? The year before we got smashed by a hurricane. Our hometown. Go look up Fort Myers, go look up Hurricane Ian. That's my town. That's where my gyms are. The insurance companies didn't give a shit. Okay, so it doesn't matter. You got smashed by a Category 5 hurricane. Doesn't matter. Your gyms were out of business for 2.5 weeks. Doesn't matter. You lost all your challengers. Doesn't matter. You had 3 of your client trainers move from one location because they didn't want to live in Florida anymore. They wanted to move out of state. Doesn't matter. This is the amount of work. Am I willing to do that amount of work to keep going, or am I not? And people say, hey, there's no shame, if it's too much, or, oh, it's not what I signed up for, or, oh, I didn't realize I was going to have to work or do this or do that. Well, hey, guess what? None of it matters. None of the shit that comes out of your mouth matters. All that matters, am I willing to do the amount of work that it takes to win? And if you decide to do that, you have to start measuring it. Hey, I did this and this and this and this and this, and we spent this and this and this and this and this. Did this equal a win? If the answer's no, do more. I don't know how else to tell it. But I'm so sick of watching people have excuses in an industry that's gotten harder. And when I look around at the world, I look at a lot of industries, and I think most of them have gotten harder, folks. Real estate's gotten harder. I don't know, I used to get a real estate deal brought to me for investments, once a month. I used to get all these companies asking me to invest every other week. I don't have any of that hardly anymore. Hardly anybody has great deals on the table that they need funding for. Hardly anybody has deals that they can show mathematically are going to work. There's opportunity everywhere, but here's the thing is what people are doing right now is they're narrowing their focus down to what they know, and that is smart. If you know fitness, you love fitness, you know the game, you've proven you know how to win, keep going, keep winning. It's not easier somewhere else. The grass isn't greener somewhere else. You can go start a solar company. It doesn't matter. You can go start a financial services company. It doesn't matter. You can go get your real estate license. It doesn't matter. Every industry's got its own problems and its own headaches, and they're all hard. You're not better than somebody else doing something else. Now, there may be more lucrative opportunities, right? Like the opportunity to own brick and mortar gyms right now and the opportunity to make money isn't at an all-time high. As a matter of fact, probably a poor place to just park money if you're not willing to do any work. I've seen plenty of guys lose money because they didn't want to work. But at the end of the day, there's an amount of work that needs to get done, and you have to choose if you're going to do it or not. And if you choose not to do it, by default, you are choosing to lose. Because if you do not do what it takes to win, you are by default doing what it takes to lose. And once you realize that, you only have one decision to make. Is the work worth it or not? See you in the next one.